What's up? This is Alaric Ong, and today I'm here with Constantin Morun, and he is a performance coach for thought leaders and a certified neuro encoding specialist. With a passion for psychology and neuroscience, complemented by a background in mathematics and technology, Constantin has developed unique strategies and systems for personal and professional growth. Over 3 decades, he has coached and mentored high achievers across various domains, leveraging his deep understanding of human psychology and neuroscience to transform lives. His programs offer a revolutionary approach to managing time and stress, integrating scientifically backed methods and practical strategies tested in his life and with dozens of clients. Constantine's approach is holistic, combining his expertise in technology with a profound commitment to spirituality. He believes that true success comes from balancing professional achievements with personal fulfillment and spiritual well-being. So, welcome to the show, Constantine.
Hey, Alaric, thank you for having me here.
So maybe you can share a quick background about yourself. Like how did you get to where you are today, and then we can go on from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, my story starts like many other people, meaning that you were born in a country that maybe it's not doing the greatest at the time. I was born in Romania, Eastern Europe, communist country, lots of scarcity, lots of poverty. And then later on, an opportunity came in my life where my parents decided to immigrate to North America, where you find me today in Canada, right? So, classical story of people immigrating, coming from a culture, going to a different culture. Where my story changes or goes a bit different is that I ended up deciding to mix a bit of the entrepreneurial world with the business world. So I would always want to do a business and run something, but then society would tell me, nah, that's not a real job. Go get a real job. So I was always in between those stages until I said, you know what, if everyone tells me I gotta get a real job, I'm gonna go get a real job. So that's how my corporate career began. Now, of course, I have degrees in mathematics, computer science, engineering, and my passion was always psychology. But really what got me to where I am today was this big job I had with Microsoft about 4 years ago. And at the time, I was chasing a promotion, right? Like, you may be listening to this, you either chase something in your life, either a business, a promotion, an next milestone, and then you get there and you realize that it didn't bring you joy, it didn't bring you fulfillment, it didn't bring you anything other than some material success, which again is great. But if you're feeling empty on the inside, if you're feeling defeated, if you're feeling like people don't understand you, then what was the point? And that was my turning point about 4 years ago. And because as a high achiever, right, if you're listening to this, you're likely someone like Alaric and I, high achiever, you want to achieve a lot in your life. And if you're like us, you're going to want to do it all alone. And if you want to do it all alone, like I did, it's going to take you a lot longer. So it took me a couple of years to figure out what was going on, what I went wrong, meaning looking externally for answers, not looking internally, taking someone else's definition of success, not having always my own. And yeah, it turned around. And now in the last few years, my life transformed. I transformed my life with the help of so many beautiful people. And now I get to help others with the same, where it's like they have a level of success, but they're not happy on the inside, or they have a level of success and they work 70 hours a week, or they have a level of success and they want to leave a legacy, but they don't have the time and the resources to go there. So that's a bit about my story, Alaric.
Okay. And can you share some tips about how do you turn someone into a high achiever, or how do you help a high achiever? How do you help a high achiever to achieve more? Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that question, because one thing that most of us don't realize is that how amazing we are and how much infinite potential we hold. Like, I was someone that was very successful in my career, right? So high achiever, top performer, yet I was barely using, I would say, 50% of my capacity at best. And a lot of it, the reason I wasn't using it was because of, and I'm pointing for those listening only, it's my head, right? Because in my head, beliefs start to take shape from when you're, a few months old to all your life. But really, the 0 to 7 years old is the golden age where you those beliefs to take in, and those beliefs will then color your reality as lenses would. So if I wear glasses and my lenses are blue, I'm going to see the world blue. If I'm wearing glasses and my lenses are red, I'm going to see the world red. So as you go through life, these stories get built up. Most of the time, they're not even yours. It's from your parents, from your caregivers, from someone in your life. And then they're going to decide, or impact rather, how you run life. So I was full with these stories from, let's say, scarcity mindset to poverty mindset to a competitive mindset from where I was born and where I lived most of my young life. So that meant that I would go through life if something would happen that, let's say, showed me that I wasn't good enough. My entire belief system was that I wasn't good enough and I need to try harder. Now, almost every single high achiever these days suffers with some form of a challenge where if you were to just overcome that, infinite possibilities show up. So how people get further faster with me or with people like myself is that we go after the root cause of why you're losing time, why you're losing sleep, for example, your thoughts ruminating in your head, and why perhaps you've been held back from stepping into your true potential. And with the methods I've used for myself and then trying them with many, many other beautiful people, I got to realize that this actually works at a level that's very, very fast, because it's not sugarcoating the symptoms or trying to mask the symptoms. Is actually helping with them and then going straight for the root cause. And once you eliminate the root cause, like any disease in the body, then you get back to health.
Cool. And can you tell me, like, okay, since you were born in a communist country, and after that you went to America, which is very capitalist. So can you share more about the transition in terms of the mindset, the environment? How was it like in a communist country? And like, it must have been a culture shock for you. So tell me more about that. Yeah.
That's a good question, Alaric. And yes, it was a bit of a culture shock. I was 17 at the time, right? So I was in a tough period to begin with, being a teenager and just discovering myself and all of that, and then having to move to a country where I didn't speak the language, nor did I know anyone. It was a massive culture shock, and Canada specifically, where we moved, was very diverse. So we had people from everywhere in our community, which actually was a great thing because it opened up my eyes to not only how different cultures exist, but how similar we actually are. So you see, the problems I thought were unique to me were not. People from Asia, people from South America, people from other parts of the world that I was now becoming friends with and getting to understand, they had similar problems to me. They grew up in a different place, but they still had the same challenges or similar challenges. And that was a big wake up moment, because for the first few years, I was very within myself, reluctant to do much other than just study. And then I realized that, well, nobody's going to come save me. Nobody's going to, we made this choice. We're here now. It's time for me to do something about it. So I would say for anyone listening, if you're ever thinking about moving to another country or you moved already to another country, it's what helped me the most is looking back and saying, well, why am I here? Is it for a better life, which is the reason we moved? Then if it's for a better life, nobody's going to give it to me. I have to go for it myself. And ideally, now if I could go back in time, I would be like, and how can I find the help to do so? So I don't have to do it all on my own.
Mm-hmm. And so what inspired you to do what you do right now? And yeah.
That's a great question. And so when I began my journey to discover what's going on and why, all this material success doesn't make me happy, fulfilled, joyful, I didn't start saying, I'm going to learn this and then I'm going to share it with people and I'm going to help others. But I've always been someone that when I learn something, I can't wait to share with others, especially if it works for me or other people. And it was in 2023, I began my own podcast. And in the process of having my own podcast, I started talking to some amazing, amazing people. I hired some of them as my own business coaches or personal coaches. And I started to open up to the possibility that there's a different path that I hadn't considered. And as I was going through my transformation, which by the way, everyone in the audience will see as you start to transform yourself, people will start to appear and ask you, wow, how can you do all of this? How did you change this to that? So for example, in my case, I suffered with depression a long time, even suicidal thoughts. And people knew that because I was fairly open. And then they were like, well, how can you go from that person that's successful yet anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, depressed, to someone that's not in such a short amount of time, and now you can achieve even more when you're already a highly successful person before. And the more they asked me the question, the more it forced me in a way to look inwards and say, well, what did I do that was so different? And the same people would then ask me, hey, Constantin, can you help me with problem A or problem B? So like, going from stressed to less stressed, or getting out of the overwhelmed situation, or even anxiety or depression. And one thing led to another. And I said, you know what? Let's try. I'll try my methods, see if they work with you. And to my surprise, they worked amazingly well. And people were seeing transformations within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of working with me. So that's kind of how it was to start. I never set out to be a performance coach or a mindset coach. It found me in a way.
Okay. And could you share some of your processes or methods if you could, if you don't mind? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So people come into my world usually when they've reached a good level of success of 6, 7 figures. And they are at a point where they're either feeling empty on the inside, or more commonly, they're feeling empty, but they also have a lack of time because they're spending 60, 70, 80 hours a week on their business, be it in corporate or entrepreneurial. And they also have a family side. So really, there is no time to do anything else. So my methods always start by looking at what's going on in someone's life right now. What are the biggest fires that we can put out? Because we know a fire, the bigger it is, the more likely it is to engulf everything else. A big fire could be the fact that you're spending 80 hours on your job. Well, is that sustainable? Can you do that for another 3 years and not fall apart? Can you even do it for another 6 months and not lose your spouse or your kids or your passions, yourself, whatever the case might be? So I always start with what I call the Band-Aid solution to the time problem that people have. So we work together, we find about 10 hours of time that you can now free up in your schedule through some time management methods, but also looking more beneath the surface. And then the question then comes, how many of those hours can we dedicate to look for the root cause as to why you are losing as much time as you are, or you're spending it in a way that doesn't really fulfill you? And then we take about half of the time, 5, 6 hours a week, and we go deep. We go deep, meaning that there's a lot of introspection, there's a lot of questions being asked, and we look at what's causing you to lose time. So I'll give you a simple example that many people will resonate. If you're listening to this, you likely send either text messages, emails, or messages on a regular basis, right? On average, someone sends about 10 plus messages a day, including longer emails. And what people have found is that, or what I have found as well, is that as I start typing out a message, your thoughts, of course, will dictate what gets written down and your beliefs. And let's say you're writing an email to a prospect, to someone you really want to work with. What's going to happen? You're going to start writing the message, and then maybe your imposter syndrome, or maybe your fear of failure, or maybe even your fear of success will kick in below the surface, which you don't realize. And it's going to make you question everything you wrote. And then you go back, you delete, you write again. You go back. So an email that should have taken you maybe 1 minute to write now takes you 15 minutes. Or in this today's society, another thing can happen. Let's say you overcame that and you're not, you're great at that. You may write the email, or you may start, and then a text message comes in and distracts you. Or you see another notification come up, or someone calls you, right? So this distraction system that's been in our life for, most of the last 20 years starts to come up, right? So you combine that with our thoughts and beliefs shaping up our reality, and all of a sudden time seems to disappear, and it makes us feel that we are efficient when we're actually not, right? There's a famous saying that pretty much 20%, the best 20% of your time gives you 80% of your results. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how do we find the other 80%, eliminate as much as we don't need, so you can get time back? Once you have some time back, it's not uncommon for you to discover another 20, 30, 40 hours. So a client I worked with recently, and I still work with them right now, after 2 months, they were down from 75 hours on average a week to about 40 hours a week. And the goal is to get down to 20 hours a week. But you see, you can't just go from that amount to, let's say, from 75 to 40, which is almost 50%, by just removing things from your calendar. Because then with the free time, what is your mind going to do? It's going to try to fill it up, to bring it back to the status quo. So that's why we need to work on the root cause, which is in our heads usually, and create this time. So, and as we do that, you will notice that things happen in your life. Your relationships get better. Relationship with yourself and those you love. everything starts to improve because you're tackling the biggest challenges that you've been afraid to tackle for so long, or maybe you didn't have time, right? No judgment whatsoever.
Cool. And so, like, from following this, what are the results that people have gotten from, or your clients have gotten?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Alaric. So there's a few things. So first of all, of course, getting time back, which for many people it's priceless. But the results that come below the surface are just what blows me away. I had people go from feeling anxiety every day of their life, not knowing when, how not having anxiety feels, to pretty much anxiety disappearing, reducing stress, removing overwhelm, which, by the way, overwhelm is pretty much the number one most common challenge I see in the people I get to work with. If it's a six-figure CEO or a seven-figure entrepreneur, you see overwhelm across the board. And we can talk about why that's the case if you'd like. But anyway, so like reduction in stress, reduction in overwhelm, reduction in depression and anxiety, and an increased belief in self, meaning that if you've listened to this, you've been successful up to this point, how much more successful could you get if you started to remove certain challenges? What if fear of failure was no longer there? What if imposter syndrome was no longer there? What if you start making quicker decisions, so indecision gets reduced, hesitation gets reduced? Where can you be? And those are the results that people get. And I'm talking about not after 1 year or 2 or 3. This is within weeks to months, right? Most of my programs are the one-on-ones and the group coachings are anywhere between 1 and 3 months, because my goal is to not just give you the fish, is to help you to get answers. And as you get there, you develop tools which you can use for life.
Okay, that's cool. And so like, what's your mission in life right now?
I love the question, Alaric. My mission in life is to bring together 1 million heart-led leaders in community to shine their light bright and make the world a better place by 2030.
Mhm.
And a heart-led leader to me is, if you think about the word leader, right? And many people, including myself in the past, think that the leader is someone that holds a title. I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I'm a corporate executive, I'm a sales leader, I'm a leader. The reality is that every single one of us is a leader in their life. Maybe you have children. Well, they see you as a leader. Maybe you have dogs. I have dogs. They see me as a leader, right? Without any of the fancy titles. So we're all leaders in our own life. Now, how can we become the leader we've always wanted to be? And a heart-led leader to me means that we're not just coming from our head, but we're also creating that connection between mind, body, and soul, where we listen to those voices within us, let's say, that intuition that we've been ignoring, even though we know it's there, and then start making decisions that make our life better, but in the process, make the life of those around us and the world better as well.
And so, like, how do you normally get your clients? Like, where do they come from, and how do you turn them into your clients? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so how I get clients, I would say 82% right now is from. So I get on a call, have a beautiful conversation with, let's say, a JV partner or a referral affiliate partner, and I invite them into my world. And through that, as they see and begin to trust my work, they start to refer people to me. And I've seen that, of course, probably in your case as well, referral partnerships have been one of the most important ways to gain trust and to allow people to come into the world. I also run master classes, and of course, the referral partners help me fill those master classes, but sometimes people stumble upon them through my podcast, through me guesting on other shows like yours, and that's another like 10 to 15% that come in. And the others, it's word of mouth. Like a lot of my programs, I don't even advertise them on a website. All I do is I share my light, I go on shows like this, and I talk to beautiful hosts like you, and then I form relationships. Because you will realize, if you're listening to this, you probably know this already, to be successful in any area of life, not just business, relationships are paramount. We are not meant to do this journey alone. Yet alone is how you figure this out. Because see, I had to be alone with myself for so long to realize that A, I don't need to do this alone, and B, there's so many people willing to help you out there. You just have to ask. So when it comes to how do I get the clients to work with me, just ask. Provide value, of course, and then ask. Say, hey, did you like what you got? Okay, do you want to get more of it? Come into my world. Let's see how we can work together.
Got it. Amazing. And can you share maybe one or two or three tips or methods or processes that you have that
Yes.
are proven to work? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. So let's take a few there. So I love the question as well, Alaric. So let's say you are someone that says, okay, I need to start somewhere. I realize that I'm spending 70 hours on my business. And yes, I have some results, but I want to go to the next level, either in personal life, professional life.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we often as human beings don't like doing, which is so important, is looking back. Because when you look back, that's where the painful stuff is. But looking back also gives you 2020 vision, right? They say hindsight is 2020, because you can look back with your perception from now and start to see where you've perhaps left some lessons, or you've missed something, or something could be done better in the future or in the present moment. So one of the first activities I do with my clients is, let's do an inventory of where your time is being spent. So if you know your schedule really well and you can look at your calendar for the previous 2 weeks, you can do it for the previous 2 weeks. Or what I recommend is you take a notebook like I have in front of me right now, you take a pen, and as you go through your day, at certain points, you do a check-in. What have I spent my time on today? The more detail you get, the easier it will be for you to figure out where your time is going. Because you may say, I'm working 70 hours a week, but do you know how those 70 hours are spent? How about the hours outside of the 70? And that's what I would like to start with most people, right? Because you have 168 hours in a week. So what's going to happen? We're 70, right? Where's the other almost 100 hours going? Sure, a lot of it will go on sleep, unless you sacrifice sleep, like most high achievers. So first step, do an inventory. Now, I recommend doing it for 2 weeks. You can do it for one, you can do it for 4, however long you want. And then I recommend putting it into categories: vocation or business or whatever you want to call it. Your personal self, which will include things like sleep, eating, cooking, whatever it is for you, your hobbies, your passions. Then, of course, your other, let's call them commitments. It could be commitments to your girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, kids, whatever else there is. And what you will notice right away is that you'll start to see how your time is divided. And the next step is to ask yourself the question, if I want to free up 10 hours in my week so I can dedicate to understanding what's really going on and fixing this, or not fixing it, but rather transforming it and improving it, where would I get those 10 hours from? Hopefully not from the sleep category, but you may see that, okay, maybe I'm spending 40 hours in meetings a week. Are they all required? Can I reduce that from 40 to 35, let's say? All right, so there'll be like a bit more than 10% reduction, which is not significant. So maybe instead of a 30-minute meeting, you can make it 20 minutes. But see, it all starts with data, right? And you and I are about to talk about artificial intelligence, Alaric, at some point, right? Well, for AI to really be beneficial for you, you need to give it proper data.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with you as a human being. And funny enough, with ChatGPT and all these other tools, you can take what you found and you can go into ChatGPT and start to ask questions. You can get very curious, and it can actually help you get some different perspective. So as you do that, so first step was do an inventory, collect the data, then you input the data into a system, either yours or ChatGPT in this case, or you go to a coach like myself. And now it's like, okay, so where do we apply the Band-Aid? Find those 5 to 10 hours, and then go deeper into the rest. And this method is not only going to give you clarity, but it's going to make it such that it's going to be very hard for you to ignore that certain things are happening in your life that you may seem like you don't have control over, but yet you have full control over. So it's once you put a spotlight on it, it's very hard to forget it's there.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And if people want to find out more about you or learn more from you, how can they contact you? Yeah.
Great question. So a few ways. The best ways, my LinkedIn, my professional LinkedIn, Constantin without the E, Morun. I have a fairly unique name, so you can easily find me. My podcast is Unleash Thyself. I run various masterclasses, many free, that you're welcome to join and see how I talk about things. They're filled with tools like the one I shared, but also tools that you've probably never heard of before or never seen. So those are amazing to join. Those are usually anywhere between 1 and 3 hours long. And those are at Unleash Thyself, and there's various pages there that you can find the various master classes and workshops in it. And another way you can find me is you can send me an email. You can do info@unleashthyself.com. And me or my team will get back to you right away. And then, if you want to chat, we can jump on a call and chat. I always offer, free complimentary half-an-hour calls where we can go a bit deeper into your situation and how I can potentially help you. And if I can help you, I know other people that probably will be able to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Alaric.
I'm sure everyone got a lot of value. Yeah.